Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, when sleazy salesmen and cloud apps collide. Woe is me and the SSD. What do you mean you don't know everything that concerns my own job? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. When sleazy salesmen and cloud apps collide. Cast your eyes back a few or more years back to the time that cloud apps were the shiny new hotness. If you didn't have them, your company was a relic of the Stone Age and could no longer sit at the cool kids table. LOL, some people actually believed that Dribble, including our chief sales officer, CSO. He'd seen an advert on the back of an in-flight magazine for this cloud app and instantly knew this was our ticket into the new age of business, exploding sales, stunks memes, and fat bonuses. And so he did what any reasonable person would do. Have a chat with the head of IT, me, about this awesome new application. LOL, wishful thinking. But he did organize a demo of the software with the C-suite and senior management team. At least that's something, right? Sometime later, we trundle into a conference room with our sleazy sales guy and our cloud apps sleazy sales guy for this demo. Through the demo, the ops manager leans over and whispers, "This looks like MS Excel." I nodded, not wishing to miss the good stuff. After the demo, nobody is especially impressed, except for our CSO. We just saw a half-developed online spreadsheet with some fancy graphics. But we're not finished yet. It's the CSO's turn to sell it, and we spend the next half hour being entertained by all the business applications he's got lined up for it. It's going to create a collaborative workforce, it's going to foster information sharing, it's going to enforce single source of truth, it's going to streamline business processes, it's going to be available anytime and anywhere, their support team can remotely help, and it's going to replace MS Excel. That's when the mic dropped. See, none of the department heads really cared until it impacted them directly. They all use Excel extensively, and what they heard was we were going to take it away and replace it with something **tire. Can we import our Excel files? Can we link sheets? Can we filter XYZ? Can we, and so on? And the answer was nearly always no, but that feature is on our roadmap. Until this point, I had been quiet. I'm a grizzled old IT manager. I've been through this and seen how it plays out, and it was my turn to put the final nail in the coffin. So if this is cloud-based, where is it hosted? Singapore, the cloud sales guy replied. CSO, you do realize that a majority of the data you're proposing to host is controlled under license that doesn't allow for third-party access, and especially exporting from our country. It's a rhetorical question, of course. The discussion is over, and I'm closing my notebook and getting ready to leave. I've wasted enough time on this. CEO starts to thank everybody for their time. We're not going to buy the software. We've already bought the software. This is the project kickoff meeting. Mic drop. To be fair, my stunned goldfish expression is simply because the grizzled IT manager who's seen it all has in fact not seen it all. Cutting to the chase, our company of 200 factory workers and 70 engineers/office workers/etc. now had a subscription to 500 seats of this spreadsheet software. Why 500? That's the minimum commitment. Apparently. The annual cost of this license was about the same as buying Office Pro for every employee, 3 times over. Every year. And because it was a professional service, not software, the purchase wasn't flagged for IT review. Where did this money come from though? It was reallocated from a HR software project that we were going to commence in a few months' time, a headcount reduction, because improved efficiency, with the remaining supposed to come from canceling various MS software maintenance contracts that we obviously didn't need anymore. Hint, Office was a perpetual license without any SA. I'm still goldfishing, finance manager is having a heart attack, HR manager is having conniptions, and the CEO is looking like an axe murderer. But, as it turns out, we had the software. None of the managers wanted anything to do with it. They were still very attached to Excel and weren't going to volunteer to give it up. It was the HR manager who was voluntold after all. Her software project was now off the cards. But never fear, our cloud spreadsheet friend has personally guaranteed that his software will do the job. All we needed to do was engage his recommended third-party delivery consultant, and they would spec up and quote for the design and implementation work. And that was our third drop of the afternoon. So how did this all pan out? Firstly, the CSO didn't get fired, but his name was mud for a few months. He did get fired later for something more egregious though. The headcount reduction came from the CSO's open positions, but after complaining bitterly, that burden was transferred to ops and the CSO went on a hiring spree. The consulting bill came in at about 5 times the original budget we had for the HR software project. It didn't work, and they went back to using MS Excel. Despite the finance manager's best effort, they couldn't fully reconcile, cover up, the financials and process loopholes and ended up getting a stink eye on their yearly audit. The budget cuts were eventually eaten by IT, of course. I did cancel the sales team's laptop refresh plan that year. I also made sure that the laptops I refreshed that year for other people were awesome. I'm pleased to report that it caused a whole bunch of jealousy drama. Petty and vindictive, I know. The subscription contract was for 2 years, and despite our commercial manager's best effort, we paid a second year. Ugh. Reliving that has given me heartburn. Enjoy. I think I speak for many of us when I ask, what in the world did the CSO do that was more egregious than this? This particular screw-up only cost in the 6 digits. That other one cost in the 8s. I'm imagining banging the secretary and getting caught. We've already bought the software. Yeah, this is where I wanted to hear the CEO say no, you bought the software. The company ain't buying sh*t, enjoy the bill, CSO. It's already come out of our accounts. Then you're going to have a lot of fun reimbursing us, aren't you? Our marketing and sales department did something similar, and even better, they tried to put the blame on me when it came time to write the cost of it all into the budgets. In that meeting, I literally in real time, in front of the entire management team, execs, and about half our staff performed an e-discovery on both mine and their email addresses to prove that the only email they ever sent me was the one say they had purchased it already, and I had to make it work for them. No one lost their jobs over it, but I do know that the following year I suddenly had a budget to upgrade some stuff that I had been asking for at least 2 years prior. I don't know why people try and bullsh*t their way past IT on technology subjects. It always comes out in the wash. About the time the cloud became a thing, our school's superintendent decided to go with a cloud gradebook program. The key feature, as far as I could determine, is that it allowed administration to control/override whatever the teacher did with grades. Because Johnny has to pass to play ball, right? And it allowed parents to look right into the teacher's gradebook anytime they wanted 24/7. About the start of week 4, I called the IT guy, we only had one, and told him I couldn't figure out how to do 6 weeks' grades. He called me back at the end of school and said he couldn't figure that out either, and that he would call the vendor first thing tomorrow. At lunch the next morning I learned that module hasn't been programmed yet. Later a lesson planning module was added, and the superintendent encouraged teachers to use this. For weeks, teachers would receive calls from parents wanting to know why their student had an incomplete grade and couldn't understand that today was Wednesday, and the test was going to be given on Friday. Then why is it in the grade book? Well, if you did lesson planning in the program like the superintendent wanted you to do, the test was inserted into the gradebook automatically. Yes, they got it done just in time and the program worked. It was a pain in the anatomy to use, and many of us had to change how we evaluated students to make it work, but the superintendent was happy. I've seen this a number of times. Most of the time they'd buy it and try to bring folks in to stand it up without consulting IT. But then came firewalls. I'm still not totally sold on SaaS. There are very few use cases where SaaS makes sense for the customer. Basically, only when ongoing updates are critical to the application. And no $, constantly moving the cheese is not critical to word processing. Off the top of my head, it only actually applies to software that has to deal with a continuously evolving problem domain. So things like antivirus needing new virus definitions, or tax software needing to keep up with the politicians passing new laws. As someone working with SAS, it's expensive as F***ck, but totally worth it for larger data. Wait. You mean SaaS? Sorry. This was a typical scenario in one consulting company I had worked for. I would show up to the customer site, install the hardware, fire it up, and get it configured. Upon turning it over to the customer, they would ask, "Why isn't it doing XYZ?" I replied those items were not a function of this particular application. Well, Super *TTY team salesman said this would perform those exact functions we want. I contact said salesman and ask why he said the setup could do XYZ. It's my job to make the sale. It's your job to set it up and make it work, was his reply. Rinse and repeat. So did you bury the body in the woods, throw it into the ocean, feed it to some hungry pigs? Years ago, some executive bought $250,000 in email archiving software without consulting IT first. A great idea, but he didn't buy a support contract and there was no budget to implement the thing. No hardware, storage, or staff to support it. We figured it was going to come near $1 million for the necessary hardware, support, and staff time to implement it. Management ended up writing the whole thing off. I saw this song and dance fairly often at my old job. What's worse is it was execs in IT making the decisions. They'd get wined and dined, get promised the world, spend $100,000 to $1 million of someone else's money, then do the absolute bare minimum to get it spun up and proceed to ignore it until the bill comes due again. Some of them were actually good, but tools are only as good as their implementation and management. As a solution engineer for Tableau, I am dying to know who the vendor was. Enjoy guessing. The delivery consultant was the sort to give consultants a bad name though. Real slimy. The standard FUD/FOMO business model. How much do you want to bet that sleazy CSO is working for them now? There's a non-zero chance sleazy CSO just went to work for the last company I worked for. I could have almost written this post word for word, and it didn't just happen once. I don't get how someone can get to these top-level positions while still having such low confidence. A few nice words over a steak dinner is enough to spend 7 figures of someone else's money. I'd be willing to bet they wouldn't trust him in the slightest after doing that. I sure as F***ck wouldn't. Constantly moving the cheese is not critical to word processing. So true. Woe is me and the SSD. User, my computer doesn't work. I'm startled away from my morning ritual of coffee and TFTS productive research by a user propping open my door. Me, okay, what error messages does it give you? User, it's black screen with loads of writing on it. Ook, helpful. So I pop down to the user's office and investigate the issue firsthand. No bootable medium found. Press F1 to reboot. Feck. I unplug the monitor and cabling and haul this poor old laptop back to the office to reseat the M.2 drive. I pull it open, clean the cat hair, and take the M.2 drive out. I rub the contacts with our fiberglass pen, and with the contacts with some isopropyl, and insert/remove it a few times from the M.2 socket. It feels a bit loose, weird. I slap the back panel back on it, just to stop unwanted shorts, and power it back on. No bootable medium found. Press F1 to reboot. Double feck. Oh well, time to file a ticket with Smell customer support. A few hours later. An email arrives from Smell Tech Support. Oh goody, a bunch of troubleshooting steps I've already done. I start composing the slightly agitated email. Smell, were you able to check if the drive is detected in BIOS or not? Me, yes, not detected in BIOS. Smell, have you tried running the diagnostics to check for error codes, or if the drive is not detected during the test? Me, not detected in diagnostics either. Smell, is there a known good drive that you can try to see if that works with your system, or another system where you can test the original drive to see if it would be detected there? Wait, hang on, I haven't tried that. There's another one waiting for service in the office. I better just try it and see if we can isolate the fault to the SSD or the motherboard. So I crack open the other one, swap over the known good SSD into the faulty machine, pop the back on and power up. No bootable medium found. Press F1 to reboot. Cool, it's the motherboard. Probably explains why the SSD feels kind of loose. Let's just try the SSD from the faulty machine in the good machine. No bootable medium found. Press F1 to reboot. Must have fried the SSD too. Weird that this one also feels kind of loose though. Let's pop the SSDs back into their respective machines. No bootable medium found. Press F1 to reboot. No bootable medium found. Press F1 to reboot. Triple feck. Have I just killed another machine? I take the SSD back out of the good machine, wipe it and reseat it. Wait, that's not in the M.2 slot, that's kind of jammed under the mainboard. No. It can't be. Surely it's not that simple. I crack open the faulty machine and verify my theory. Yup, I'm an idiot. I reseat the M.2 drive into the M.2 slot, instead of jammed higgledy-piggledy under the motherboard, pop the back panels back on both the machines, and take them for a test toast. They both boot without issue. That's what they get for interrupting coffee. They get half as support. Much better to incoherently scream ticket? With coffee dribbling delicately through my 4-day-old stubble. My local gas station replaced the coffee machines with computerized coffee machines. I don't know how they expect you to operate a computer before coffee. Alright, I'll bite. How did the first M.2 come unseated in the first place? / __/. Gremlins. Computers, I tell ya. Am I right? Ah yes, we're kinda loose equals what's this extra screw for? That sound of the screw moving though the laptop that stops when you try to coax the screw towards the hole. I can't picture how that drive was jammed where. Any photos or anything? There was a gap between the motherboard and case, just under the M.2 slot, just wide enough to jam an M.2 drive in. I do not understand this at all. Was the M.2 mount not visible? It was, but it was hard to see where the drive was actually slotting into from a top-down POV. Also, stupid design from Smell, making it so the M.2 will slide under the motherboard instead of into the M.2 slot. No matter how long you've been doing this, it's the simplest issues that get you. Upvote for higgledy-piggledy. Now back to my regularly scheduled coffee. Brightisms crack me up sometime. I thought for a moment you were going to have the issue that my personal machine did to me once. Got a short that took out the hard drive and the power supply and rendered any machine the hard drive was connected to unbootable. That was fun to figure out. I bought a power supply tester after that. This was a scarier read than any campfire story. I have a fleet of 120 HP ProBooks 450 G6. About once a fortnight, a random one will just be SOD, rebooting and come up with no boot device found. The fix? Unplug all the cables and press Ctrl+Alt+Del. Never figured out what is going on, but what I do know is that if you don't unplug the cables, 2 screens, KB plus M, no matter what you do it will not boot. Happens with dual Asus, dual Lenovo, or dual Acer monitor configurations. As for mouse and keyboard, users don't have one identical piece of external hardware, except the charger, that is causing the issue. I gave up looking for the issue. It has dropped to about one random laptop a month. I have the same model, and it hasn't hit me, and I don't know why. I'm gonna have nightmares about this story, thanks. What do you mean you don't know everything that concerns my own job? Here's another rant I need to get off my chest as it happened to me yesterday yet again. I work at a big company with multiple departments and 10 times as many employees. We provide technical support for all of them, yet most of the time I struggle trying to figure out what exactly they need help with. Reports, there are thousands generated every hour, every day, every week. Client reports, status reports, daily reports, weekly reports, quarterly reports, etc. We have many systems that generate the reports, and many ways we can generate them. It can be a simple scheduled data source which spits out into a CSV the contents of a SQL query. It can be an actual report that was designed with a template and on regular basis gets the figures updated with the latest data. It can be a web panel export in Excel that is emailed to whoever the user wants because they can set those up themselves. Then there are Excel spreadsheets every team uses that can pull data via a SQL connection or a third-party add-in. Also, we have email notifications in HTML forms that have nice tables and graphics in them. I call them what they are: scheduled data sources, panel exports, spreadsheets, etc., so I can keep track of which system generates them and how. For the users, however, they're just reports. So yesterday, a user reaches out via Teams. $user, hey, I need help with the $generic name report. $me, what $generic name report? Can you be a bit more specific? $user, the Department X, $generic name report. $me, I'm going to need more than that. Is this a report generated by $system A or by $system B? Is it an Excel file or a PDF? Do you get it via email or do you consult it via $web portal? $user, it's the afternoon $generic name report that is sent to Department Y. $me. I still don't know what you're talking about. $user sends me a path on one of the shared drives where analysts save all their documents. $user, it's this $generic name report. $me, finally getting somewhere. I see. Yeah, this isn't a report any of our systems generate. This is manually created by analysts. You need to ask whoever owns this to help you. $user, okay, thanks. Sometimes I wonder how small people think our company is. Or maybe users think the world revolves around them and fail to realize there are other departments that deal with other sh*t, and I cannot know every single aspect of everyone's roles. I don't think users think the world revolves around them, it's that they have no idea of the greater picture. It's like people asking to give access to the x:/network drive, without any mention of a network path, and you have to guess what they mean. I'm not sure if it's entirely correct, but there is a saying that goes, if you lay down on the ground, the horizon looks a lot closer. I also assume they have no idea what OP's job entails. They just know that OP is supposed to help them with technical trouble. A regular everyday conversation for me and my team. IT, this is GG. Yeah, hi, I can't get into my tablet, the pin isn't working. Yeah, no, turns out it's not the pin to the tablet, it's their password for our EHR systems. I've gotten quite snappy with users lately because it boggles my mind that they can't differentiate between a 4-digit pin for their tablet and an 8-digit minimum password for the EHR. Also, my team doesn't reset that password, never has, in the 8 years I've worked here, and there's a forgot password or unlock account button on the sign-in page. I know which is which, but it'll get fixed faster if I call IT and let them worry about it. Users. I've also seen cases where the dollar user was just handed the broken report by a manager and told to fix it because the person who usually does it isn't available. Or not the first person the manager saw that morning. Sometimes without even a hint about what is wrong. Ha! This. Can you fix it? I don't know. What's wrong with it? I don't know. That's why I'm asking you if you can fix it. I can't fix it if you don't know what needs fixing. Enter a while true loop. From a user's perspective, I remember having a similar conversation with my tech support. And it wasn't that I didn't understand, it was that I legit didn't know the answers to the questions that were being asked. At my job, every morning I walk in, and there is a report sitting on my printer that I am required to review and sign. The requirement has since disappeared, but that's unrelated. It's a series of documents relating to the prior day's business. There aren't titles on the pages, but from the context, I know what they are referring to. One morning, my report wasn't there. So I called help desk. They wanted to know what the reports were called. No idea? There's no title page or header. When I was trained, they were just called the morning reports. What I did to make it print every morning, nothing, it's just there, and I'm the first person in every day. What time it usually printed, not sure. Sometime between midnight and 5 a.m. As that's the latest and earliest I've been in, and I've never seen it print, this is something that will print at every location. Every night. Across the country. I tried to describe what was included. I knew my techie was getting frustrated, but I was trying to explain using the words I knew / was familiar with, but nothing was jiving with what was on his screen. I don't blame him, but it was frustrating knowing we couldn't effectively communicate, even if it was neither of our faults. An email I get probably every other day. Hey, after Shelly can't log in. Can you look into it? I don't know who you are, or who Shelly is, or where you are at. We don't force email signatures, so I usually have no clue. The standard response: are they authenticated to the network? Are they getting an error message? Can they get into anything else? Not to be rude, but why would you accept a help request by email that isn't from your manager? If I get an IM or email, I just direct them to the ticketing system. Follow proper channels and get proper support. My management backs me up on that too. This is my daily life. Are you sure you're not me? I don't want to say that you and OP are the same person, but have you both ever been in the same room at the same time? Every day I get something like this. My favorite is they give me a file name, and I'm supposed to magically know where on a multi-terabyte file share it is, and don't respond when I ask where it's located, or act like I'm speaking Klingon if they do respond. One of this year's projects is segregating file shares per department and limiting granular access to 2 folders deep, and will be 100% group-based. If multiple departments need access back and forth, they can designate a root-level folder for shared access. The crap's how I moved into with this job had per-user permissions everywhere, and we've spent lots of man-hours fixing the mess. Come ilij dak tlaku nadev dabachug, vaj tlopdak bahli. Just start responding in Klingon. And yes, that's a mistranslated sentence. I go through the same crap with my users. I get a ticket from a user that says the links to the file downloads for the X process need to be updated. Which ones? I ask. Her response? All of them. No, you babbling idiot, I want to say. Which page has the links that need to be fixed? I don't know what pages your process uses. What are the right links? What are the current bad links? We have them semi-trained to snap a screenshot of problems and things they need changed. Quite often, they send a screenshot of the specific error, without the URL or any of the supporting info. I can't read your mind. I need to know where you found this. I used to work help desk for a large hospital system. We would often get calls from users who had already spoken with a team member from one of our many IT teams. When I asked who it was they had spoken with, of course they wouldn't know, and they would just say I don't know, I talked to IT, I talked to you guys, and of course they would provide no ticket number. I talked to IT would be the equivalent of me saying that I went to the hospital and talked to medical. Or even I talked to you guys when actually the person they spoke to was a janitor. Skip trying to get them to explain, just have them send you the path they follow to the report. They should at least know the file name, if not the format. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.